What's going on? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics, and in this video, I thought we would take a look at the Amazing Spider-Man comics that sold in this week's Heritage Weekly auction. We're specifically going to be looking at the Silver Age comics because the Bronze Age comics haven't sold yet. The Bronze and Modern stuff hasn't come up for sale yet. But I have not checked any of these out yet, other than one, the Amazing Fantasy 15. So I don't know how they did. And so we are going to find out together as we go through these. We're not going to look at all of them, but we're going to look at, some of the bigger keys that sold and see how they performed this week. Now, because I have looked at the Amazing Fantasy 15, I can tell you already, this one was a really solid sale. But let's check that book out first. So we got Amazing Fantasy 15. It is a really nice looking copy. I will say there's something about it that may, it depends on your take on it, may bother you, may not. But when you get closer, you can see that somebody has it's almost like it's a grease pencil or something. And they've traced a lot of the kind of like edging for, around the words under fantasy here, like Spider-Man looks like kind of like around his eyes, not around here, but around that text bubble there as well. Not down here, but there's some major places like around the text bubbles, this spot here, Spider-Man, and then in Spider-Man's eyes that looks like it's like a grease pencil or something. Now, I know some people might think like maybe that should be color touch or something like that, but I think the main reason it didn't get that is because when you look at color touch, usually one of the things that, at least my understanding, that CGC is looking at is the what is the intention of the work that's being done. Like this feels like some kid like tracing along the book. It doesn't feel like they're trying to make the book better, improve the appeal of the book or anything like that. But other than that, this is a really, really nice looking 4.5. Look at this, like no chipping on this book. Colors are fantastic. It's got like just little bits of edge wear and all that kind of stuff. The stuff that, if it didn't have that, I'm guessing this played a pretty big role in that 4.5, because otherwise I would think it would have gotten a higher grade. But a very nice looking copy. It's got that flaw, which, yeah, depending on your take, could end up bothering you or not. But this one sold for $38,400. So let's check out how that did. So for a 4.5, $38,400. We had a 5.0 in December, sold for $42,500. We had a 4.0 go for $31,102 in November. And a 4.5, we had, let's see here, last sale, $31,200. 2024, there were quite a few sales here, 8 sales. That was higher than every single sale of 2024 except this one in January. So that was a pretty significant sale. Yep, it doesn't have the Marvel chipping, that kind of thing, but it has those other flaws. So I think that this was a very strong sale for this book. And you can see here, we've been seeing quite a few Amazing Fantasy 15s coming up for sale almost weekly. I see them come up for sale on the Heritage Weekly auctions. So if it is a book you want, if it's something you're looking to get into, they do come up fairly regularly. And so you can kind of like pick and choose, I'd say, which one you really want to go for. But very, very solid sale for Amazing Fantasy 15 in a 4.5. All right. Now let's take a look. Let's start moving on through some of the other books. Next, there were 2 copies of Amazing Spider-Man #1, a 4.5 and a 3.0. So let's take a look at the 4.5. So 4.5 here, again, pretty solid looking book, off-white pages. Take a close look here at it. Colors look good. A lot of times you get some, either a little bit of fading, especially in the reds on this book, but colors look really nice. It has a couple bigger creases, but solid looking copy. Amazing Spider-Man #1 and a 4.5 sold for $10,500. So let's go check out how that one did. So Amazing Spider-Man #1 in a 4.5. This one, scroll down here, we got 8,900 for the last sale. This one went for 10,500. So again, more than that last sale. We had a 4.0 go for 9,500 in December, a 5.0 go for 1440. Let's take a look at the 4.5s. So we had 13 sales in 2024. This sale of 10,500. Higher than this one here, not as high as the November 12th, higher, same, higher. pretty solid sale again. So going back about 6 to 8 months, only one sale that was higher than this. And last year, only 3 sales total that were higher than this one. So, and quite a bit higher than, this sale right here for $8,900. We don't have I bet we have a picture of that book. Maybe we can get an idea what that book looks like. Yeah. So here's a picture of that one. This one looks pretty good too. I don't know if the colors, it's hard to say, like, because they're different scans, but colors look a little better on this copy than they do on this one, a little more muted on this one, but solid sale for Amazing Spider-Man #1 in a 4.5, but we also had a 3.0. So let's take a look at this 3.0 and let's see how, that 3.0 did as well. This is also, very comparable. Colors look really nice. I'm guessing maybe it's detached at a staple or something. I've got some staining. All right, so there's some pretty decent staining here on this copy. Let's see what the back looks like. Yeah, and you can see the staining a little more clearly here. So some decent staining to this book, but overall, very solid presenting copy. $7,500 for a 3.0. So let's take a look at a 3.0. Last sale $7,200. 3.5 last sale is $9,500. 2.5 $6,000. So it seems like it's about right in the middle. But this, we haven't had any sales this year, but 72, 78, 92, 82. So this one definitely in this grade seems to maybe still be coming down a little bit. You can see here, like, yeah, it was stronger than the last sale, but weaker than most of the prior sales of last year. Only a couple sales that it was stronger than. So in the 3.0, maybe not quite as strong of a sale. And this is one of those things that I talked about in that prior video that I did about the Comic Link auction, where you have 2 books selling back to back. Did the bidding on that 4.5, somebody got that book and now you have less bidders on the 3.0, possibly because that 4.5 went pretty strong. And then you have this 3.0 that seems like it went a little bit weak, but that could be something that, something that caused that. All right, now let's move on to a 9.0. There's some nice books in this weekly auction. Look at this, a 9.0 of the first Mysterio, Amazing Spider-Man 13, and White Pages. This book, every time you see this edge here is in rough shape. Now, there are quite a few spine ticks here. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's see if there's anything else. Corner there. Yeah, the 9 feels, maybe a little generous. You can have spine ticks, usually around 10, but there are others here like 11, 12, 13. Like, to me, this feels more like an 8.5, but it's got the 9.0 on the label. So it is a 9.0. So let's take a look at Amazing Spider-Man #13 in a 9.0. This one sold for $6,000. White Pages often plays a decent role when you get to some of these older Silver Age books and what the price is going to go for. But let's see here. So $6,000, last sale $6,600. So we had a $6,600 sale. That was probably Heritage too. Yeah, $6,600. Just a couple weeks ago, we had a 9.0 off white to white. So this 9.0 White Page actually went for less than this 9.0 off white to white. But let's take a look. Let's see what, man, that is a big crease there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that big crease. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Man, this doesn't, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Like, this corner down here, like, this doesn't feel like a 9.0 either. Like, it's a nice book, but I still feel like 8.5 and like, I don't know, like 8.5, 8 to 8.5 for this one. But hey, 9.0, whatever. So let's check out the pricing on this one. So in 2024, 6,300, 66, 62, 6,080. What was this one again? We went for 6,000. So this one was lower than every sale that in 2024, every sale in 2023, 22, 21. So we got to go back to 2020. So the pre-comic boom period to get a sale lower. And even then there were a couple that were higher. Now this was also probably around when that movie came out with Mysterio in it, which was probably bumping the prices up on this book some as well at that point. Cause you can see even back in 2019, there was a $7,700 sale. got to go all the way back to 2018 really to get down to this price. So yeah, I mean, this one definitely feels like it's still correcting some. I mean, you can see it's been relatively flat for a while, kind of hovering in the 6,000 to 6,600 range. I mean, the last couple of years, so maybe it's pretty stable. But this was definitely on the lower end of that range. And honestly, like I was kind of like talking about the grading on this one, but this one looks better than the 9.0 that sold for 6,600. So maybe this was, this was the better deal, and it was white pages. So I don't know. This one was probably a pretty safe pickup, but definitely still on the weak side. So we had a couple weak sales, this one and the second Amazing Spider-Man 1, a couple strong sales, the 4.5 Amazing Spider-Man 1 and the Amazing Fantasy 15. So let's keep moving on here. Let's check out the next book. We have Amazing Spider-Man 15, a 9.2, first appearance of Craven. I have to think this book has been going down. I mean, that movie did not get a very good reception, and I expect that the prices of this book are going to show that. But let's check it out. Let's go to Amazing Spider-Man number 15 in a 9.2 off-white to white pages. Let's take a look at this one. Let's see how this one's doing. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's hard to see ticks here in the yellow. Maybe 8. I don't see it. Like, this one feels pretty good. Like I'm pretty comfortable with the 9.2 on this one. That's this is a clean looking book. So I'm comfortable with the 9.2 on this copy. But let's take a look at the pricing for this one. So this copy sold for $5,520. Last sale just this year, $6,600. To get to $5,520, you have to go back to 2018. That is I mean, look at that. Like, even in 2018, there were 2 sales that were higher. So yeah, I mean, when you look at those prices, I'm guessing this was maybe around, like, maybe this is when they announced something, but I can't imagine they announced anything with that movie back then. Maybe it was just speculation about the Sinister Six or something that caused this spike here. Because prior to that, this book was in you can see here, 2,400, 2,000, 2,500. So it's a tough call. It's like, it's one of those that it feels like a good price because it's, 2018 pricing, but is this book, because of how bad that movie was and how, and yeah, like, I know people don't like that has an impact, but it does. Is it going to retreat back to kind of more like the prices back here? Is this book going to retreat back into the $3,000 range or somewhere around there? Maybe. I mean, it might. So yeah, it's like, in theory, it feels like a safe buy, but I would still be a little concerned about this one. Maybe not on the short term, but on the longer term, maybe like 5. In longer term, I'm saying like maybe like 3 to 5 years. I'd still be a little concerned that this could keep trickling down. Just my opinion on it. But yeah, this was one where I feel like that movie did really, really hurt that book. All right, now let's move on to Amazing Spider-Man 17, the second appearance, I'm pretty sure, second appearance of Green Goblin. Let's double check the label. Yeah, second appearance of Green Goblin, 9.4. So let's take a look at this 9.4. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. Like little stuff there, like 6. There's some very small ones. Yeah. I don't have a problem with that. Like, this is a really solid looking book. It's like the spine ticks on this one are also much smaller than on the other ones. And that's, the size on those spine ticks does make a difference. And so 9.4, again, white pages, $4,560 for Amazing Spider-Man number 17. Let's check that one out. So got Amazing Spider-Man 17 and a 9.4. Last sale, $3,600. 2019, 3,200, 2016. It's almost a record. That's almost a record for that book. 4,560. It had one sale of 4,600. I'm guessing that's probably one sale. Yeah, one sale of 4,600 back in 2005. Definitely a book that seems to be pretty flat. I mean, look at this. Like, this is across 20 years. This book was going for 3,300 back in 2002, going for almost the exact same price today. So, definitely not a book that seems to be like a good long-term hold. The second appearance maybe is hurting this one. I don't know. But it's pretty crazy. Like, this is almost a record. I mean, only one sale higher than it in the last 20 years. So pretty significant sale for that book. It is a great looking copy, white pages as well. But with that price history, you can see like this doesn't seem like this is one that seems to move all that much over time. I can't say why that is, but this doesn't seem to be tracking with a lot of other books that do tend to trend up long term, especially Spider-Man keys and a major villain like Green Goblin. Like, I can almost guarantee Amazing Spider-Man 14 has gone up a lot more than that over the last 20 years. So let's take a look at, Amazing Spider-Man 14. Let's take a look at a 9.4 in that one. So 9.4, Amazing Spider-Man 14, the first appearance of the Green Goblin, 28,800 sold in April of last year. And this book back in 2002, 10,000, 8,000, 8,000, 8,000. So this one has gone up about 3 times in that time period, whereas the second appearance has been completely flat. That's kind of surprising. Usually those move in tandem, but apparently not with this book. All right. Now let's check out, the first appearance of what is this one? The Living Brain, major key. But it is Amazing Spider-Man number 8. It is a 9.2. It is white pages. Again, let's check this one out. Let's take a close look here. I mean, the yellow cover probably hides things a little better. Got some spine ticks down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's see if anything else really jumps out. A little softness in the corner. Yeah. I mean, again, one that I would have probably put more like a 9 than a 9.2, but it seems I'm about half grade low on a lot of these on how I would assess them, but I probably would have put it as a 9 instead of a 9.2. But let's take a look at Amazing Spider-Man number 8, a 9.2. White pages sold for $4,080. 9.2, last sale, $2,990. This was a record. New record in grade. 2022 Comic Boom, 3,450 was the prior record. So this set a new record by almost 20%. So, hey, big sale here for Amazing Spider-Man number 8 in a 9.2, first appearance of the Living Brain. Major key. I'm sure that we will see that character in one of the future Spider-Man movies. All right, let's keep moving on here. Now we've got first appearance of Kingpin. This one, I would not be surprised if we're seeing some kind of like some upward momentum in this book right now with the Daredevil trailer and all of that. 8.5, white pages, one of the best covers of all time. I don't think many people would argue with that. It's too bad the Kingpin isn't on the cover, but still, it is an amazing Spider-Man cover. I always really like the covers that have kind of like a single color on the cover, similar to Green Lantern 76, covers like that. I really like this one. I think most people really like this one. 8.5, white pages. Check out Amazing Spider-Man number 50. So this one sold for $3,000. Man, I feel like back during the comic boom, that was way, way higher than that. So let's take a look. 8.5. Last sale, $2,565. So up from that. I mean, yeah, look at this. Comic boom price, $8,000, almost $7,865 in 2021. 2024, we had prices that ranged anywhere from $3,840 to $2,435. And so the last number of sales we've had, this one was what, 3,000? We've had a few higher, but we've had quite a few lower. So it definitely has been trending down. You can see that trend here. Like, these trends always concern me still. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about like Silver Age books, and me being concerned about picking up Silver Age books right now is that until those trends break, and you can see they do like little uptrends a little bit, like that's not breaking that trend. Like the long-term trend is still down. Until those trends break and we see kind of like a long-term trend back up, I am just nervous about purchasing those books. But we can see prior to the spike in prices at the comic boom, we'll go back to 2019. This was around a $1,600 to $1,900 book. I mean, a couple higher sales, but generally in that range. And then this sale, $3,000. So you can't, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, you could argue is like maybe the long-term trend, it's like it's starting to intersect that. But until I see that actually happen and see kind of like a longer shift up, then I'm nervous about it. But overall, this purchase feels like it's pretty much in line. I mean, it's a white page copy, getting it more than the last sale, but less than the last couple there. Feel like this one is pretty much right in line. I'm not too surprised by that sale. Let's take a close look at this one too. I mean, 8.5. I expect to see, a few more spine ticks on this one. We got a little rough corner up there. Maybe 1, 2, 3, a little bit here going 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, a little roughness at the staple, 10, roughness down there. Little tiny crease in the corner down there. That's a pretty good size crease. How big do you think that crease is? 1.5 inches? Let me get my little cheat card real quick. Man. That doesn't feel like an 8.5 crease. Like, I don't want to say 7.5, but like 8.0. Like strong 8 weeks, or what would I say? Strong 7.5 week 8, somewhere in that range. Like 8.5. Like that's a big crease for an 8.5, in my opinion. But like you're seeing as I'm going through these, like a lot of these, I feel like I'm like a half grade where it's getting about and that does track with when I send books in to get graded. I often grade about a half grade lower on average. So, that's on me, but it's just like that crease feels like it doesn't belong on an 8.5. Like if you saw that crease diagonal here, that same length, you would never say that that was an 8.5 book, in my opinion. But it is what it is. Sold for $3,000 because that's what the grade in the corner says. All right. Now let's move on to the first appearance of the Shocker, a 9.4. I mean, so many high grade copies in this auction. 9.4. First appearance of the Shocker, Amazing Spider-Man, number 46. Let's take a look at this one. Maybe one, some light ones, like 2, 3, 4, 5, a couple light ones there, like 6. A little soft corner. Maybe something that this one's nice. Like I would say like 6 to 7 flaws on this one. Like this is a 9. This is a 9.4. So 9.4 white pages. And again, I'm not looking at the back. The backs are generally all white. And so there's not a lot you can really assess unless you have it in hand, but 9.4, $2,880 for Amazing Spider-Man, number 46. Let's check that one out. So 4 issues before first appearance of the Kingpin, 9.4. Let's see here. It's 2,880. Again, white pages. Higher than the last sale. Almost the highest sale. Record sales, $2,950 and $2,972 over the last couple of years. So that, and there was a 2,880. This one was also 2,880. So definitely on the higher end. I mean, strong sale for this one, about 15 to 20% over the prior sales. So, this one's going to be right up there pushing along with these other high sales that we've had previously. So solid sale for this book. And, this one to me, like it feels like a solid 9.4 and it's a white pages copy. I'm not all that surprised. It's not like a major key. It is the Shocker. He did appear in the movies, but solid sale for Amazing Spider-Man number 46. All right, now we've got a few lower grades. So these are a little bit bigger books. You've got the first appearance of the Vulture, first appearance of Doc Ock, first appearance of the Green Goblin. So let's check these ones out. So first up, got Amazing Spider-Man number 2. First appearance of the Vulture. Tough book. 5.0, 2,880. So let's check out Amazing Spider-Man number 2. See how this one did. So 2,880 for a 5.0. Here we've got last sale, 3,328, but a 5.5 went for 2,400. Man, that feels really low. I mean, it's kind of like on the lower end. You can see it's like almost like back in that 5.5 is back in the 2020, 2019 prices, which is what I said. That's kind of like where I feel like it's safer to make those purchases. So 2,880. If we go back into 2024, 3,900, 3,100, 25. So there were a couple high sales late in the year, but over the course of the year, this was more like a $2,600 book. So I think that this sale was pretty much in line with almost what you would expect. It's like the 3,900 feels like an outlier. It's like these prices in here in the middle of the year feel more consistent, more like what I might expect. And then you had this like jump here. So I'm not surprised it came back down. So I feel like this price is pretty much in line. It's a solid looking book. I mean, a 5.0, it's got maybe a little color fade on it, but overall, good looking book. The reds look good. That's one of the things you often want to look for with this one. You can get some serious fading on the cover, especially with those reds. All right, let's check out Amazing Spider-Man number 3 in a 4.5, off-white pages. I think this is probably the number 2 book for most people. Like if they want that Amazing Fantasy, well, you've got Amazing Fantasy 15, the Amazing Spider-Man 1, and then it's probably Amazing Spider-Man 3. The other one might be Amazing Spider-Man 14. I think generally most people are going to want this one more than Amazing Spider-Man number 2. But we had a 4.5 go for $2,760. Let's check out that 3.0. So a 4.5, 2,760. So last sale in December, 3,300, a 5.0 for 3,250, a 4.0 for 2,550. So this 3,300 feels high. And when you look at this 90-day average, it was elevated from that 90-day average, kind of like a jump up there. So if we look at the 2024 prices, 33, 3,000, 24, 27, 31, like I probably would have had this book somewhere around 2,900 to 3,000, and it went for 2,760. So a little bit low, but really not too low, but also one that, you know, when I look at that, I see that long trend down. And when you look at the prior to the comic boom prices, you know, this book going for 1,500 to 1,800, somewhere in that range. Yeah, just same thing. Like, just makes me nervous. And so, yeah, it's a great book. Maybe a little less than what I would expect it to go for, but I would still be a little concerned about that kind of that long trend down with a lot of the silver, bronze, modern, copper, all that type of book. All right. The last book, I'm not going to do this one. This is the UK edition. As you can see here, this one has the pence price on it versus the cents price. They basically always sell for less, and you can see that here. This is a 5.0 that went for 2,160. This is a 4.5 that went for 2,760. Now, the one thing with the UK editions, they do often have deeper colors. It is thought that they were printed before, like on the same presses and everything, but printed prior to the cents copies. But, you know, people want the cents copies. The demand is not as high for the pence copies. And so that is how the pricing works. Even though there's a lot less of them, doesn't matter. The demand is there for the cents copies. All right. So last book here we're going to talk about for Spider-Man is this Amazing Spider-Man number 14, first appearance of the Green Goblin, a 5.0 white pages copy, went for $2,040. Feels low, but I don't know. You know, like it's sometimes some of these, like when you've in your memory, you have the prices from 2021, 2022, 2023, things feel low, but then you look back like a couple more years and realize they really aren't. So 5.0 for $2,040. December 1740. So 2024 ranged from 2,850 to 1,740. Last number of sales. I mean, we had this 128.50 sale here, but 17, 19, 18, 19, 21, 17, 22, 18. I mean, I probably would have priced this. I mean, it is a white pages copy. I probably would have priced it right at like 2000. I'd give it a little bump over these other recent sales and went for 2040. So I feel like this one's right in line. I mean, colors do look really great on this copy. A lot of times the white pages helps with that. It's not always the case. Colors do look really, like really nice on this. The yellows really pop, the reds really pop. It's a solid looking book. And so I think 2000 is pretty much right in line where I would have it for the, that white page copy. This has been relatively stable, but again, still kind of like that slow bleed down. That's right. It's like, sometimes you just kind of wish like they would just do like just one, people would let it just get one big correction all at once, get back down to like these 2020 type prices. And then we can move from there. But it doesn't seem to work that way. We just keep getting these like slow bleeds down, but it is what it is. But yeah, those are all the books. I mean, I feel like it was a pretty good mix. We had some books in here that were really, strong performers, like the Amazing Fantasy 15 4.5, Amazing Spider-Man 4.5 number 1, but then some weaker sales, like this white page 9.0, First Mysterio, the 3.0 Amazing Spider-Man 1, Craven keeps trending down, so it was a mix. Like this one was definitely a mix. There were some really strong sales, some records, some new records, which is pretty impressive, especially with the comic boom period. So overall, I always think Spider-Man is one of the safer characters to buy, but I still, like I said, I'm following those trends. And until I see that trend reverse, it just keeps me on the sidelines for the most part. So let me know. Did you buy any of the books in this auction? Were you bidding on any of the books of this auction? Did you pick up any of these Amazing Spider-Man keys? If you did, please let me know in the comments, and I will see you on the next one.